Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story about an awful manager named Janet. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. I always go the extra mile, Janet. I used to work in a large DIY store and had a manager, I'll call her Janet, that would run her department like a tyrant. I was her least favorite employee, and she made this clear from day one. One day, in an annual performance meeting, she expressed how disappointed she was in me and that I should go the extra mile for customers, and they're always right. This went in my personal file. The store had lots of younger staff and would regularly get unreasonable requests from customers, especially on timber cutting. This is when I had the genius idea to do every request a customer gave to see how far I could push it. A couple of weeks later, an elderly couple came in wanting a fireplace. I showed them the display model. It was high up on a wall, and the gentleman wanted to see the boxed wood color to see if it would match his furniture. He says the display is perfect, but this one is wrong. I informed him it's because the wood was coated in a special varnish so it looks fresh on display. He says, "Can I have that one up there?" I say, "Of course you can. It'll be ready by 8 p.m. tonight as I have to take it apart and replace it with a boxed one." 3 hours later, Janet walks in and I'm building the full fireplace in the middle of the store. "Janet, why the hell have you taken that down? It was fitted a week ago." Me, "The customer wants this one and they're always right, so I've gone the extra mile." She storms off and I spend a full shift replacing it, taking my time. The customer was so happy they gave me 20 pounds and a thank you card. The following Friday, a local gospel choir came in at 19:30, 30 minutes from closing. Customer, "Hello, child. Could you do this timber order?" It was almost a full pallet of timber sheets to be cut into lots of pieces. I explained it would take me a couple of hours and we closed in 30 minutes. "We don't mind waiting. You'd be doing the Lord's work." Jesus was a carpenter, child. Who am I to deny the Lord's work, even as an atheist? I asked the store manager if I can do it as it's for a local church and they're doing a new stage for Sunday. Store manager said yes. Please stay late, and Janet can stay late too to lock up after you. And I'll lock the rest of the store. Just get them to pay before we close. Janet was PO'd. She was meant to go out to a party, but the choir was so happy they were singing gospel songs with my name put in them for 3 hours. When I was done, I loaded their van and they hugged me. A very nice review was later posted online, and my store manager was happy. Not Janet. She tried to give me a written warning for making her late, and I refused to sign it and said, "The customer's always right, so I was right." The store manager was informed of my refusal to sign, and he went mental at Janet for giving me a warning. He said she was undermining his authority, and he told me to do it, and she was giving me petty warnings for nothing. My previous warnings by Janet were removed. Janet got a serious talking to and a warning. I still did the occasional unreasonable request for customers if it would kill some time or was for a good cause, like building a full rabbit hutch out of scrap wood for a single dad and his little girl and charging £1 for it, as we decided the price for off-cut wood. Most importantly, Janet learned to be careful what she pulled staff up on and left me alone. And our second story. Short but sweet, steal from his blind aunt, I'll make sure you don't see the revenge coming. This was 2013. I know, it's been a while. My husband at the time was my boyfriend. He had a blind aunt named B. She had a very bright outlook on life and was trusting, but cross her and she would snap. B was very wealthy from her own merits. She earned a huge amount of money in her 76 years. Anyways, every week we would take Auntie B to lunch once or twice a week. I would learn about how she sees the world and ask her questions about how she does certain things, and she would always gladly answer. Well, B had a best friend who was a nurse, and B got sick from her diabetes. She went into hospice care. B appointed her friend as a nurse to live with her, and it seemed well till her credit cards would overdraft, or she got random calls from creditors, or the time she had no food but had a fridge full of Pepsi when B never drank anything but water. I was suspicious, but I was an outsider, so I didn't say anything at first till one day we brought Auntie B lunch. It was a tuna sandwich, cut in half for her already, with some fries, her favorite from her favorite place. At this point, she had 2 weeks left to live. I offered to cut the sandwich more so she could eat it in fourths, but her nurse took it to the kitchen instead. She brings it back out on a plate, not cut, but it's only one half of the sandwich and it has a huge bite out of it. I tell my, at the time, boyfriend her sandwich had been bitten into, and he goes, "No effing way." But when he looked, B was already eating it. So I get up, take her sandwich, and go to the kitchen to question the nurse, see her eating the rest of B's food, so I get mad and question her, and she claims she thought it was for her. We previously offered to buy her some food, and she refused. She gets mad and throws the sandwich on the floor and walks out when she says, "I need to get B more tuna for her lunch tomorrow. Bye." We tell my mother-in-law, who's a lawyer, and she checks B's bank accounts and finds this nurse stole $45,000 from her bank to furnish a new apartment she got and bought new clothes and crap. So we call the cops and she gives us back the credit card, but proceeds to claim she did it because B told her she could, to which B comes out of the house to say, "B, I'm blind. I couldn't see you robbing me, but the kids said you ate my sandwich too, like ducking monster. So I'm taking you off my will and you're fired as my nurse and friend." B presses charges and the nurse lady went to jail. She still has to pay back the money to the inheritance holders, my husband and his brother. Moral? Don't steal from the blind and don't eat their food in front of people who can clearly see you do it. And our last story. Boss didn't let anybody leave after finishing work. Enjoy being swatted? Hello there. This story happened like 15 years ago. I witnessed the entire scene and laugh at the outcome for days. A little backstory. I live in Colombia, South America. I used to work for a USA bank, the one with an umbrella. Not the best place to work, but it has some great benefits like mortgages, loans with a especially good low interest rate for the employees. Here in my country, by law, the companies must pay the employees an extra salary yearly, payable half in June and half in December. It's called prima legal. And the bank goes an extra mile and pays their employees an extra 1.5 salary to be payable as well in June and December. The bank also pays for a premium health insurance on top of the basic but good health insurance required by law, among other things. These benefits were won by the union reps who negotiate with the bank the terms every 2 years. Here in my country, union reps are a pain in the butt for the companies, and a bad union association could and had made a company go under and close operations. So joining the union is heavily discouraged in general. On the other hand, being a member of the union, especially if they were a rep of the union, is very dangerous here. They could get killed just for that. Cast. Boss. Operations director for the bank, who was hired by the bank to specially make a living hell to the union associates. Awful person, vindictive and cruel. Rep. A union rep who's an independent lawyer and works at the bank just to make boss regret working there. Guala. A special police force that deals with kidnappings and extortions. Guard. A security guard in charge of letting employees leave the premises. To the story. Rep, been a lawyer who had his own clients, works strictly the legal time required by his contract. Then he goes to his other business office to attend his legal cases, so he generally clocks out before anyone else who stayed finishing their job and making other tasks. Boss noticed rep behavior and introduced a new policy. Nobody is to leave the premises until everyone was ready to leave. So the bank security locks everyone in, and we couldn't leave until everyone was ready. One day, not long after that, Rep had an appointment with a client and went to the exit and asked the security guard to let him out. The guard told him that he couldn't leave until Boss said everyone else go, so he went to speak to Boss, and she told him that he has to stay like everyone else, and that if he didn't like it, he should quit his bank job, otherwise he would lose his other business and lose money. He didn't say anything more and went to his chair looking defeated. Boss was delighted, told everyone there that she had him, and started to make fun of him. What Boss didn't know was that he had been waiting for this opportunity since she put this new policy in place, and he knew it wouldn't take too long before he had to be in on a meeting with the client. On his workstation, he called the police, asked them to transfer his call to the special Guala unit in charge of kidnappings. About 20 minutes after he called the police, the Guala unit arrives at the bank, no less than 15 heavily armed police officers. Picture something like 15 heavily armed SWAT storm at the front door of the bank. The security guard was livid, pale. The police inform him that they received a call that a kidnap victim was held in the bank. The guard called Boss, who ran out of her office to the front door to deal with the situation. In the meantime, Rep was with the most satisfying smile on his face. I remembered to be scared like everyone else, and when I looked at him smiling, I began to realize what was happening. Boss starts screaming at the police, Koala units, that there was no kidnap victim in the bank. Then Rep raises his voice and said, "Yes, there is. I'm the victim." "You're not kidnapped," she screams. "I'm being held here against my will, and that's typified as kidnapping," he calmly replied. Boss looked at him with her eyes wide open, realizing the major screw-up she put herself into, and said, "But I'm not detaining you against your will." Rep: "Yes, you are. I went to your desk and told you that I finished my work and need to leave, and you told me that that I couldn't go because of the new policy you implemented, so I'm being held against my will, see?" Koala: "Do you want to press charges, sir?" Rep: "Yes, I do." Boss: "No! Go! Leave! Nobody's detaining you." Rep: "Officer, there are other people here who finished their work, and they are also detained here against their will." Boss: "No! Anybody who's finished their work or want to go, you can leave," she screamed. So we went to our homes. Boss had to stay in the bank on the line with the legal department and her boss. Rep went to see his client. Boss didn't get fired. That was what she was hired to do, I guess. I never knew how a person like that could be working for so many years, being such a bad person in general, stepping over anyone, so the fact that she didn't get fired for that or the many other things she pulled off was because the bank encouraged it, I guess. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.